Good evening, everyone. This is Vice Chair Commissioner Etter, and I would like to call today's meeting to order at 6:33 p.m. And we will start with roll call.
Here.
Commissioner Reynolds,
Here.
Commissioner Etter,
Here.
Commissioner Kendall,
Here.
Commissioner Irvine. Let the record reflect that Chair Irvine is on Zoom. She's
Is
in
she
the
there?
meeting, and that Vice Chair Etter will be presiding over the meeting.
Yeah. Right. Okay. Okay, so where do we get started? And I'm not used to this, so
So,
Mr. Sneed needs help
consent-
along the way.
So the next item for business is your consent agenda. In your consent agenda, those are things that if you'd like to discuss in greater detail, you can pull them off of consent and put them on the regular agenda. But we usually just put your planning commission meeting minutes on there. So you could approve all those minutes in one motion.
Have you commissioners been able to review the minutes from those meetings? So can I get a motion for approval?
Yes, Commissioner Reynolds makes a motion to approve meeting minutes from November 6th, Planning Commission meeting, November 20th, and January 15th.
Commissioner Kendall, I second the motion.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries.
Commissioner Irvin, aye.
Yay, thank you. Okay, so next is opening the public hearing.
Yep. So
Okay.
Vice Chair, just read the title of the agenda item and you'll open the public hearing and note the time of day that the hearing is being opened.
Okay, so we will open the public hearing, the City of Madras Code amendments to implement the city public improvement design and construction standards in the Municipal Code. Would like to open the public hearing right now at 6:35. And do any of the commissioners have any actual economic conflict of interest to disclose? Commissioner Etter, I do not.
Commissioner Kendall, I do not.
Commissioner Reynolds, I do not.
Commissioner Irvin, I do not.
Okay, so can we move on to the staff report?
Great, thank you. Commissioners, you'll recall that we had one public hearing on the proposed amendments. I believe it was on January 15th of this year. The commission wanted to not take action and get some clarification about what the actual amendments were more specifically trying to accomplish. In response, staff has created a table, which is in your packet, that identifies the existing code sections that are being proposed to be amended. The title of the section of the code that's being amended, the current requirements of that standard, and then the reason for the proposed changes. So I will say that in the January 15th hearing, largely represented that we're proposing these changes so that we can more fully implement the standards and specifications, or to be more specific and accurate, the city's public improvement design and construction standards, which are in short referred to as the standards and specifications, more fully in the development code, so that the development code and the standards and specs are consistent with each other. After the January 15th hearing, I went through in a detailed manner and created this table. One thing that I found, and I had the city attorney clarify, is that many of the code changes are needed so that the standards in the development code are consistent with ORS 197A 400. I don't expect you to remember what that statute is for, other than that is the statute that requires all needed housing, which in the city of Madras, based on our comprehensive plan, we need housing of all types for all income. So that's how we define needed housing. That statute requires that they be approved by clear and objective standards. So you cannot use discretionary standards to approve needed housing. This would be for like a subdivision, for a site plan. A conditional use is in many cases not even allowed anymore. So taking that further, when we have criteria for needed housing, we need to make sure that they are clear and objective in our code. These proposed code amendments, many of them are bringing our code to be consistent or compliant, I should say, with 197A 400. So with that, I will just run through these changes real quick. So 1820 subsection 21, this adds a requirement for development to have a frontage and access on all frontages and access, and it's to comply with the standards and specification. There's a typo there. It clarifies the conditions under which private streets are permitted. And commissioners, please stop me. I'll just work my way through these rather quickly if you don't mind. 1820 subsection 20 sub 2A, the change is going to require adjacent and abutting development to be improved per standards and specifications. So there's certain instances where a site may have two frontages, and we want all of the frontages of the street of that development site to be improved, not just one. For access, under the access standards, there's several sections here, but subsection 2 general removes the section because the street design standards are contained in the standards and specifications. So we no longer need those standards in subsection 2. And the current standard is not clear and objective. And so it then becomes clear and objective by removing it and relying upon the standards and specifications. For existing streets, 1820 subsection 23, this standard does not exist. This is a new section. It requires existing streets are inadequate to be improved to city standards.
Sorry, Nick. I think I do have to declare maybe a conflict. I do have a development that these are going to apply to.
No, it would have to be an actual economic interest. So in other words, are you going to be financially compensated as a result of these standards being passed by ordinance? Generally speaking, I can't
well-
imagine the situation where you would be actually, as a result of it, being paid money. You would benefit from these code changes just like any other property owner or
Okay.
developer.
Okay. I'm confused because one of the things I am seeking is funding from the MRC to offset some of the offsite improvement costs.
It has nothing to do with it.
Okay, I'm
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
clarifying.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay. Moving on to 1820.20 subsection 4, minimum right-of-way and roadway width. So the current standard requires right-of-way widths to conform to standards and specs. So we're changing the title here and requires existing right-of-way, private streets, easement streets, and alleys that are not consistent with the standards and specs to be improved to be consistent with those standards and specifications. Subsection 5, extension of streets. Current standard requires streets to be improved to and through. This is a really important policy of the city. It clarifies the internal and external frontages that connect to an abutting property. It clarifies the internal, external frontage that connect to the property need to be improved, and that the to and through standard is clarified as well. For frontage and access, subsection 6 restricts access to a development or property from collector and arterial streets. Those are your streets where you have high volume of traffic. Think of B Street today and some of those driveways where some people back out of their driveway on the street. We really don't like that, especially when you've got, fifth wheels and school buses and things like that. Where was I? Okay. So it clarifies the number, location, spacing of access points that are also compliant with the standards and specs. And the current standard is not compliant with 197-400, so it will bring it into compliance. Continuation of streets requires existing streets to be continued or extended with solar orientation. So the standard is like a north-south kind of grid. That's not clear and objective, so we changed the standard so it is clear and objective. In terms of street layout, current standard requires a grid-like standard. Again, this is not consistent with ORS 197-400, although not noted in my table here, it is not. It provides new language that is compliant with the standards and specs. And so in so doing, it relies upon the transportation system plan for identifying how future streets should be laid out. Instead of on a grid-like pattern, it says based on your transportation system plan. For alignment and separation of streets, this is your standard that requires, has standards for alignment separation to be consistent with standards and specifications, although we're proposing that the street spacing and separation distances must comply with the standards and specifications, and that separations between streets and driveways and between driveways must comply with the standards and specifications. Again, creating the standard to be clear and objective. For street dedications, requires any person desiring to create a street must apply to Public Works Director and a separate hearing before the City Council. The proposed change would allow dedications now included as part of a land use process, or if no land use is involved, then through the procedures in the right-of-way chapter of the standards and specifications. This is a change, and we did note that at the last meeting. And I'll pause there because I know there was some discussion or maybe initial concern for the Public Works Director and the City Administrator allowing right-of-way to be dedicated. I can tell you in the past, well, Jeff, do you have any comments on that? Why this change to you and the Administrator for both dedications related and unrelated to a land use decision is appropriate, or in your mind, appropriate? So it's the bottom one of page 3 there.
Is this not going through the city council then? It would just be the administrator and the,
Yes,
that's
so,
what the change is requesting.
yes. So,
160.
So this is a street that isn't on the transportation plan. This is something that somebody is developing a property and they want. to
yes,
create-
let's say I'm gonna develop my property
Yeah,
and,
I know what's best.
let me, a different example.
Okay.
Let's say I have an existing business in the downtown area. Let's say the Oregon Department of Transportation is gonna come through and do a project, but they need more right-of-way. They're gonna buy it from me, but we still need to get the right-of-way dedicated. And for some reason, need to be dedicated the city right-of-way. The Public Works Director and City Administrator would be able to sign the documents dedicating that right-of-way
Without going to the. city.
without going to City Council.
But does ODOT do that? Don't they just take it?
Yes, but. Yes, they do. Maybe
Okay.
another poor example, but for conceptual level, we're trying to remove the City Council for this. Yeah, that's the point here.
I think the bigger thing is to say subdivisions go through you guys. And they're always dedicating right away. They don't go to city council, they don't do anything like that. And then once everything's been approved for their tentative plan, when they go to plat, they dedicate right away. And it's usually I sign it, Nick signs it, city administrator signs it.
Yeah.
I don't know of any case where it would come up where somebody would just dedicate right away to us.
There's been, I can think of maybe one or two situations
Right.
up on Hess. There was one property owner wanted one thing. And so he wanted, I can't remember the situation. I remember Chiddix wanted some right-of-way dedicated. We went to the city council and there were some challenges with that.
Well, that was
Yeah.
a vacation request.
Yeah.
The
Okay.
vacation requests still go through city council for if they're right away to be vacated or not. But I think it's all, but as far as anything else, I mean, most of the time right away is dedicated through a subdivision application. I don't know of, now we go and say, I'm doing a project and I need to buy right away. But that goes to city council is because we need to acquire more additional stuff because they're doing a land transaction, they're doing a purchase. City council has to authorize us to go buy that land. And then typically the city administrator is the one who signs the, goes down and
The purchase agreement.
the purchase agreement, or is the one who actually does the transaction. Like we just did one today for Olive Street where we bought like $20,000 worth of right of way. And he was the signer for the wire transfer. So I think that's more along the lines of why it's to make it the city administrator is my guess.
So right now, you're not thinking it doesn't go through the city council?
What's that?
Am I hearing you correct that you don't think it needs to go through the city council as it's written right now?
No, because they never do. They always go through you.
Then this is a moot point?
Likely. And so this was identified by our land use attorney. And so what he's trying to do is also, so we're trying to make some code changes that, number one, make the development code consistent with the standards and
No, I'm not
specifications.
talking about that. I'm just talking about
The
substandard.
right of way.
I know, I'm getting there.
Okay.
I'm getting there. Secondly, that there's, in many cases, in Chapter 1225, there's a lot of, oftentimes there's processes that are different.
Yeah, I highlighted
That are
those.
identified in Chapter 12 that are different than what's actually in practice. We're trying to bring practice, the code consistent with what our practice is.
Does the time of year have any impact on the transaction amount? And I know, so here is the reason why, is, because of property taxes. Let's say somebody's paid their property taxes, we pay them in November. You purchase in January, technically they've paid for 5 or 6 months of property taxes on that piece of property. Would they be entitled to a rebate of 6 months of property taxes for the?
Yeah, it's
Purchase
just like
right away.
selling a home.
Yeah.
You pay for property tax for your sell a home, you get discounted back. It's part of that transaction. It's the same thing.
Okay, so it's title, everything is all done through title company and that's all prorated out.
Yeah, so just an example of how we do it is we'll set up like for this one that we just did.
Yeah,
We go through, we do a purchase and sale agreement. We do it though as deed of dedication for a purchase price because it's gonna be dedicated as right of way. And when you're just adding right of way to right of way, you don't have to go through and partition it off, turn it into a lot, and then sell it off. You can just grow it out, right?
yeah.
And so we do that purchase and sell agreement, and then we always go through title and escrow because that way it just makes it easier because the seller then can sign there, we sign there, the money gets deposited, and then they take care of everything, and then they also prepare the deed of dedicate. Well, we prepare it for them. And then they run it through, and then it's all
And
copacetic.
Again, just another clarification, once it becomes city property, there is no property tax accrued after that.
Not on the piece that we just. proposed.
Correct. So
Correct.
it's just zoned open space or right of way or whatever.
It's zone public right of way.
Public right of way. and
Public
then,
right of way, yep.
No, after that, no.
Yeah, unless we bought like a lot, then it becomes city lot, you know?
Yeah, but still no, if the city owns it, no property taxes accrue on that.
Right.
Yeah.
Vice Chair, should I proceed? Okay. All right, minimum design standards. So current standard establishes the minimum design standards to be compliant with the standards and specs. This is addressed in 1820 sub 20, so we no longer need this section. 1820-180 requires a person desiring to create a street must apply to Public Works Director and separate hearing before City Council. Dedications are, the proposal would be to, dedications are now just included as part of a land use process. And if not part of a land use process, then we rely upon the right-of-way chapter of the city code. For storm drainage systems, current standard requires storm drainage system plans to be submitted with the site plan. The new standard requires a preliminary grading and drainage plan to be submitted and therefore becomes submittal requirement. Therefore, if not submitted, the city can deem the application incomplete until the applicant provides it. This was in response to a few developments where we've not known the significant grade and fill requirements going on. And so we issued a land use decision and there was challenges related thereafter. So if they're gonna add more than 24 inches of fill or dig out more than 24 inches, we need to know that. And we need a plan that shows that. For 12.25.10, that's the definitions section. So there's no definition for the city administrator. We're proposing to create a definition for a city administrator. 12.25.30, scope of regulatory control. Current standard affirms city has jurisdiction and regulatory control over each public right-of-way. The proposal would clarify the city's jurisdiction and regulatory control exists for public rights-of-ways. Excuse the typo. This is, the need for this change came from a dispute over whether the city has jurisdiction and regulatory control over undeveloped right-of-way west of the homeless shelter, which is being used as a temporary homeless camp area. So this is a somewhat practical change here. 12.25.35, didn't include a hyperlink there, I apologize. Grants, dedication, transfers of public rights of way. This is a new section. Establishes that the city administrators authorized to accept on behalf of the city granted or dedicated public rights of way and easements. Clarifies the city council is to all other grants or dedications are to be considered by the council, that the council may hold a hearing on such matter and that the city administrator may at their discretion refer a grant, dedication or otherwise to the city council for their consideration.
Basically, kind of what I was saying. Council approves purchase sale agreement, person who goes down and signs the deed.
But this section involves both the city council and the administrator.
It may,
Yeah, the purchase and sale agreement, council approves us in buying the land or acquiring the land. But the person who actually signs the deed.
Right, is the administrator.
Have to get like the mayor or somebody to go down and buy it.
Right,
Sweet.
okay. So, but it still involves both.
yep.
Okay.
All right, 12.25 subsection 40, city permission requirement. Current standard restricts occupation or encroachment of public right-of-way is prohibited without city permission. The proposal would clarify that establishing a point of access to a public right-of-way requires city permission. It also adds clarification that any franchise, permitted occupation, encroachments, or point of access requires council approval, authorizes the city administrator, their designee to issue license. That would be your public works director, to issue licenses, permits, and other approvals for the occupation of the public rights, occupation or use, means use, of a public right of way by resolution or as part of the standards and specifications per Madras Municipal Code 1245 subsection 20.
Okay, so clarifying on that one. That would involve the city council and the city administrator as well?
No, so this section's regulating or clarifying the, who gets to authorize the use of right of way.
And we're clarifying the way it is now. It involves who's involved in giving that right-of-way permission? Now,
I believe current standard city council.
Yeah.
you're the city council?
What it's referring to is like issues license permits, so this is like authority for right-of-way permits.
Right, okay, I get that.
Licenses, that sort of
It's
thing.
giving that permission to you instead of the city council.
No, actually, it's not changing who's authorized. It's expanding the authority, right? So the current standard says no person may occupy, encroach on public right of way without the permission of the city. The city grants permission to use right of way, franchises, license, and permits.
Right.
What we're also adding is any franchise, permitted occupation, encroachment, or point of access requires approval of the city council. So it's actually putting it back on the city council for ultimate authority on who gets to use it. City council may delegate, though,
Right, that's,
the authority to the administrator or their designee to issue licenses, permits, or other approvals for occupation of the right of way.
okay, so we have check and balances here.
Yeah.
Okay, we're good.
Yeah.
So, sorry, I'm confused. So every new right-of-way, like Madras Sanitary would have to get approval from you guys in order to, no, okay.
That their franchise agreement with the city clarifies that.
Just expand,
Yeah.
expands as the city expand,
Yeah.
okay. Oh,
Yeah.
thank goodness. That would be a headache. So, what's that, every right-of-way?
Not every, no. Okay, so getting back to the table. All right, so we're getting close.
Obligations of the city?
So 12, 25, 50 obligations of the city. So the current standard specifies the city exercising its authority and regulatory control of the public right of way does not constitute acceptance of right of way and does not obligate the city to maintain or repair any part of it. Think about your annexations. Just because you bring in land and just because it's public right of way doesn't mean that Jeff has to pay for maintenance. So that's the current standards.
What
and
happens in, here's another, what happens if it falls into a state of unusability where somebody cannot traverse over the right of way? Then it has to be brought up to state, who's responsible for
I'll
that?
let the public works director answer that.
Okay,
You yell at me to go fix it?
is that, again?
Yeah,
Well,
I'm not doing my job.
if that happens, I'll be out there with you.
Yeah, I mean,
Okay.
it's not, I'm not doing my job, and if
You're doing
that's the
your job.
case, you yell at me, and if I'm not listening to you, then you go to city council, and city council yells at me or fires me.
So,
That's how it works, right?
Again?
I mean, that's the reality, right?
Yeah, I guess.
but really, this really comes up in territory that we bring into the city limits
Yeah.
that is not on a county road maintenance list. It's
Correct.
just one of those,
Well,
you
even
know,
if it is
gravel
on a
roads.
county, if
Yeah.
it is a county road, but if it's inside the city, it's still city's responsibility to maintain it.
Depends on if it's a county road or a local access road.
Okay, so if it's a local access road, it's city's
Yeah.
responsibility
Yeah.
to maintain it.
We
Yeah.
do.
So
Yeah.
It's our responsibility.
what do you want to add to it?
oh, we're just clarifying
That
the,
they don't have to
the-
maintain it
yeah.
until it needs maintain, until Jeff gets yelled at. And
I
they're not
don't want,
responsible.
I don't want to ever get there.
I know,
was trying to
I know.
get at
So
that.
let's say it's unmaintained, I'm sorry, I'm dragging this out. Let's say it's unmaintained. and somebody decides that they're gonna go speeding one way and the other guy's gonna go speeding the other way, and due to the conditions of the road, they get into a car accident.
That-
And,
It protects us from us being liable.
okay, because you're saying that we don't have to maintain it and it's at travel at your own risk.
Right.
Okay, all right. Are there
And
signs
that's
posted?
mainly because of what we annex in.
In most of the situations, this is where I see that this standard becoming operable. More
Because
important.
might be annexing in a county road that hasn't been well maintained, and then you end up with a bad road that you have to fork out the bill. Got it?
Yes.
Okay.
And again, we talked earlier in this, in the public hearing tonight about the to and through standard. When development happens, they need to improve the adjacent public right of way, whether it's 1, 2, 3, or 4 adjacencies. They improve all that to public standard, and then they, improve it to and through the property, right? That's why this is important, because you have also a standard here and says that the city, we're not going to maintain these, but if you're going to develop it within the confines of the law, the applicable law, they need to improve it to city standards and to and through. Then you don't have any of these issues.
Got it.
And there's a lot of, and there's a lot of liability things, like there's existing right-of-ways out there that have never been developed, they're just right-of-ways.
Oh.
Well, if we don't have something to protect us, somebody could go in there, hurt themselves and say, well, that's the right-of-way, we're suing you. And
Yep.
it's protection for the city.
What is it, A Street between 9th and 10th?
Yeah.
There's one there, right?
Sure, there you go.
Right,
There's
right,
one.
right by Willow Creek, on the north side of Willow Creek.
Revere
Yeah.
between Cross and E,
Uh-huh.
there's right-of-ways all over
Yeah.
that have never been developed. Right.
So you guys have just been lucky so far?
No, it's in there. See, that's what he's
Okay.
saying. The current requirements say it's there. They're adding the changes. They're clarifying the city exercising its authority and regular control. So they're adding
Yes.
to the section. They're
Okay.
beefing these things up.
Okay, beef it up.
Right.
All right.
All right, second to last, 12.30 excavations. Current standards contains the definitions and standards by which the city permits excavation. Typo again, within rights of way. The proposed change would remove this section in its entirety, as these requirements are addressed in the right-of-way chapter, in the municipal code, and or in the standards and specifications, so it avoids conflicting standards. And then finally, the standards and specifications, 1240.30, requires sidewalks to be constructed, altered, maintained, and repaired per standards and specifications. And the proposed change would clarify that the standards and specifications may be adopted and amended from time to time pursuant to 12.45. There is your quick overview of the code changes. With that,
Thank you for
any
making
further
everything
questions
so
for
clear.
staff?
Anyone have any questions for the staff?
I do on 12/25/30, just double checking. We have a check and balance here clarifying that the city the way it is right now, it affirms the city has jurisdiction. So this doesn't have anything to do, nothing's changing, whether it's just done by the administrator or done by city council or both.
Yeah, so we have,
Is there a check and balance on that one, scope of regulatory control?
yes,
So it goes through the administrator as well as the city council?
no, it's the Public Works Director. I think the code says the city administrator is designee, which would be the Public Works Director. And so there's two sections of the city regulations that oversee excavations. It's the right-of-way chapter, and then the standards and specifications. And the proposed changes are removing potential conflicts between those two. So you don't want two code provisions that are conflicting with each other.
Right,
So we
okay,
want
so
them
the
to be
codes aren't
consistent with each
conflicting, but
other.
the authorities who have to deal with it are the same, are
Yes,
staying the same.
yeah. Commissioner Kendall, I don't think this change is not about the authority. It's more about making sure that two codes are
Match.
consistent with each other and
Got
not
it.
conflicting with each other.
Okay. And then I think that's my last one. No, there's two. My biggest question over this is, do we have proper checks and balances? We don't want to really change and remove and give all the authority to one person or one department without having a check and balance of going through the city council. So that's all I'm clarifying for myself. On MMC 18180, it talks about requires any person desiring to create a street, have a separate hearing before city council, and then the change, it says procedures in the ROW chapter. Does that mean that we omit the city council?
So, subsection 180 is being removed. Okay, and then, the standards and specifications are identifying the procedures. That's chapter 12.25, public rights of way.
So maybe to help her pull up that point.
So what is current requirements? It says separate hearing before the city council. The new requirement left that piece out. That's all I'm asking.
Correct.
Do they not then need to go before the city council because the ROW chapter covers this? Who,
That's what we're looking
okay,
because I think that's what he's getting at is, there's two different things in two codes. So they pull it out of one to make it consistent in the other one. Is that right?
It's correct. So it's being pulled out of chapter 12, the procedures, and we're relying upon the provisions in the standards and specifications for dedications of right-of-way.
I'm just asking the piece that says this is a separate hearing before the city council currently. Is that going to continue that way? Because when you go before the city council, you're asking for some kind of approval. Who's going to give the approval?
The city administrator will ultimately give that approval. And
Instead of
no
going before the
public
city
hearing is
council?
required.
Instead of going before the city council?
Correct.
Which right-of-way dedications are we talking about? It's different for everything. If
It
it's a
says
la-
procedure of street dedication, MMC 1820-180.
Right, so a right-of-way dedication in a land use process is handled through the subdivision process. That either comes before you or it's able to be done administratively. But then they have to design and meet the standards for right-of-way widths, links, all that other stuff. And
Okay.
then if they're meeting that standard, it's just the plat's then signed by Nick, by me, by Will, but those never have ever gone before city council.
So this, before city council, was sort of a moot point.
What I think that one's getting at is if somebody came in and just said, hey, I want to dedicate right away, right? It would go that's saying it would go before city council.
Okay, so then these two aren't talking about the same thing.
I don't think so.
Okay,
Yeah, that's what I'm seeing it as. Because if anybody was to come and say, I wanted to dedicate right away or something, there would be a discussion with city council, city administrator. me,
okay, well, I
myself.
thought these matched. Currently, we're doing this, now we're changing to this, and you're saying these two don't
No,
match?
so on the screen here,
Oh.
you're seeing 1820.180, procedure for street dedications.
Okay,
We are removing this in entirety. Now, when you look at the provisions currently, it says an application and appropriate filing fee for a street dedication shall be forwarded to Public Works Director for review and recommendation. I'm
right,
gonna
then it
skip-
goes to the city council for
Yes,
Which-
acceptance or rejection.
Right, we don't follow that.
we don't
process at
follow
all.
that. We don't do that.
We don't do that now.
So
We
we're-
never have.
So, couple things here. One, we want to get this out of our development code because it's not appropriate to have it in there. Right? It's more appropriate to have it in your standards and specifications. Right? And the reason is your development code has a lot more scrutiny and a lot more legal applicability in terms of case law related to development and process than the standards and specifications, which are more or less engineering things, how we're putting pipes in the ground, streets, how they're built and processed like that.
Okay, so if you're
Based
not
on-
using this, you're just saying, let's
Yeah.
get the wordage out of there.
So we're taking all this out of the development code
We're
and
not
we're
even
gonna,
following our own.
we're gonna rely upon the provisions in the standards and specifications for this.
Right.
Okay, all right.
Right. So then, but then if you go to 12 real quick, Nick, what does 12 say? Just because for my own curiosity. So, because it talks about right of way and it doesn't talk about any type of process for right of way dedication, right?
No, so,
Right.
so 10 is definitions, 20 is a jurisdiction.
Well, it does there.
Yep.
So it does go.
So
through
we do
there.
have a new section here that's saying how you grant, dedicate, and transfer public right of way here. Right?
Right, and you have both the city administrator and the city council. You have a check and balance
Yep.
there,
Yep.
which
Yep.
is fine.
Yeah.
Okay, my last one, I think. Oh,
1225 doesn't come into effect unless somebody walks in and says, I want to give the city this.
Correct.
Correct.
It's not part, whereas if somebody wants to develop something, then that is a different.
It's an obligation of their land use permit.
Correct. Yeah, it's a requirement if they want to develop, this is the right way you have to put in, whereas 1225 is somebody walks in, I want to dedicate right away.
Right, and that's why he's pulling it out of the development code.
Yeah, okay.
right, you guys are going into detail. I'm really general right here, right now. My questions are just check and balances, not the details of how
Yeah.
everything works, because I trust that you've got the codes in place and we've all discussed codes in previous meetings. So we're good with that.
Okay.
Anyway, but that's where my brain is coming from.
Okay.
And my last one for the check and balance is the street dedication 182160. Because I don't want to lose our check and balances. I don't want to cumbersome us as a city, but I also don't want just one person or one office to have so much final authority of saying yes, yay or nay, that there is not a check and balance. And I'm not saying that that's what's
No,
happening,
no.
but that's just how my brain is working.
Mhm.
That is correct. So the check and balance
Oh, shit.
remains. Number one, we're getting out of the development code because it's not appropriate to be in the development code.
Right, no,
And
I'm
then
with
the
you.
right-of-way chapter 122535 it establishes the procedures for granting, dedicating, and transfer public right-of-way.
Yeah, I've got that one.
Yeah.
We're good there. We're good on that one. My last question, I think, is the 182160. The way we have it now, it requires that it goes before the city council, and the changes, it just goes to procedures according to ROW.
Now, 182160 shown near the top of the screen. It does not prescribe a public hearing before the city council, but
It
in.
doesn't say public hearing, it says separate hearing before city council. That's
Mhm.
the way it's presently written. Are we removing that?
Right. 'cause
That it
the-
does not have to go before the city council?
No, it says all grants, what is proposed in chapter 12 would be all grants or dedication as well as intergovernmental transfers of right-of-way require the approval of the city council. At the discretion of the city council, a public hearing may be called to consider the grant, dedication, or transfer. Nothing herein shall preclude the city administrator from referring any proposed grant or dedication of public right-of-way to the council.
Okay, you're back on 12.
So we're removing it out of the development code, chapter 18. and
So
we're
you're
adding
taking it out of 18 and you're covering that same thing in 12.
Bingo.
We're good?
Yes.
All right. Sorry, I can get things on very few words, but sometimes it takes a little more.
Great questions. Thank you for clarifying. I don't think there's any public testimony unless someone is online besides Ms. Chair.
I'm here, but I have no public comment.
Yep. So can we move on to deliberation?
You may.
Great. I feel like everything is very clear.
Yeah, I
And
agree.
they did a really great job writing it, eliminating things they're not doing and now putting into place things we are gonna do.
Except for the typos, yeah.
Yeah, within.
Yes, this is Commissioner Urban. I just want to say thank you for clarifying all of those changes. It was a lot easier to see them in that table format. And they all look like they have good reasons to be changed. So thank you.
What is that?
I know, somebody's behind you.
Is it a cat?
I'm in a ski lodge, so I don't know what's going on behind me.
Oh.
Okay, got you. As long as it's not somebody not good. No, I'm good.
So this is Commissioner Utter. I would like to make a motion to approve the new code amendments. And can I get a second on that?
This is Commissioner Urban. I'll second.
All in favor, say aye.
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 Aye. Motion carries.
Bang the gavel.
Yay.
Yes. Okay.
Clarifying all my questions.
Is there any other additional discussion?
Yes.
Anything else on the agenda?
Just a calendar check. So we will not be having a meeting on March 5th, my late father's birthday, but on March 19th, you will have two public hearings. You have two conditional use permit requests.
Is
Those
that
are
the
quasi-
Madras Marina?
I'm sorry?
Was Madras Marina one of those?
Yes, those are quasi judicial hearings, so
Okay. So
please,
can't talk to them?
please do not talk to anyone, do any fact finding.
Yeah. I didn't know. Okay, I got a question. Yeah,
You will
yeah, you-
review the application as it's presented.
Oh, at the meeting, at the meeting, at the meeting. No, at the meeting. Oh. I didn't
Yeah.
talk to anybody.
Let it be a surprise.
Yeah. Saw Gary at church. I
Yeah.
said, go away.
I had no
Yeah.
idea.
Okay. Okay.
So now that you've mentioned it,
So I'm, that's my confusion. That property is zone, MUE, right? Are they changing the use? No. Then why, they're just changing the business. Why do they have to apply for anything?
We will explain that during the public hearing.
Is that,
Commissioner,
okay, okay, I'm just,
I'm not
I'm
being
sorry, I thought we
flippant. I'm
were
not,
off the record, off the cuff, kind of turn off the mic.
the
Let's have a-
short answer is
Okay.
the code requires it.
Okay, okay, code requires it. I do have something else, a checklist for new members who come on board, letting them know how to access their emails, what the penalties are for the non-compliance with the state. And because I got caught in the transfer where I came on and it was Fatma's last, and it was Bethany's, well, then somebody, and then Bethany's new, but I did not get up to date on this, so I've been in the lurch. And I get emails from Nick saying planning commission canceled, and I click on it and it's for a meeting in like September of 2023. And I just assumed that's a typo, and I assumed that was the next meeting. And then I don't show up.
Yeah.
Yeah. So just a checklist to go through with the new people that staff could put together. Hey, have you accessed your email? Yes. Okay.
Yeah.
And then are you signed up with the state to be in compliance?
Thank
No.
you. Thank you for the feedback. We'll work on that.
Okay.
And to that point, maybe an indirect point, we do have a candidate that is interested in serving on the planning commission. As a matter of practice, we will try to schedule them for the March 19th meeting for which you'll conduct an informal interview. All of you probably remember that, going through that. And then we'll have the planning commission make a recommendation to the city council on that.
Can you share who the person is or not yet?
Ian Garrett. I don't know the individual.
My son's science teacher.
Yeah.
That's correct.
You
Yeah.
guys
Yes.
will like, yeah,
He's college bio.
yeah.
Yeah.
He's my son's teacher too, and
Okay.
he likes him.
There might be a conflict of
good egg.
interest.
Good egg.
A good egg.
How old is he?
Ian?
Yeah.
I
You're
don't-
calling him an egg?
A good person, a good.
Oh. I thought that had to do with age.
No, I just meant he's a good guy.
Okay.
From the dealings I've had with him, he's a good guy.
Chair Edo, you're able to adjourn the meeting as you see appropriate.
Do
Thank
it.
you.
Bang the gavel.
Okay, let's adjourn this meeting at 7:23 PM.